It's on. Can we start? Okay. Can I speak without my headsets? Good. So, hello, good afternoon and good morning in Lisbon. Welcome to the Portuguese Pavilion and welcome to Portugal. It is a great pleasure to be here at COP29 to moderate this session on how to reduce transport emissions by 50%, the quick, reliable and affordable solution, on behalf of the Secretary of State of Mobility. First of all, I want to express my gratitude for all of those that are here and for the opportunity to lead this important discussion. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sofia Bento, and I'm the coordinator of the National Strategy for Active Mobility in Portugal. I lead a small team, but highly dedicated to the issues of walking and cycling. Our work is carried out under the supervision of the Secretary of State of Mobility, and we operate within the Institute for Mobility and Transport. So the Portuguese strategy for active mobility is composed by two different components, one about walking and the other one about cycling. And we are deeply committed to public policies, to focus public policies on the most important element of the entire mobility ecosystem, so people. So I think we are fully aligned with the motto that one of my speakers wrote in the LinkedIn, that is, move people, not cars. On the international stage, we stand out for our participatory methodology that we developed, we use to develop the walking strategy, ensuring that all voices are heard and that no one is left behind. Furthermore, our governance model includes an interministerial commission for active mobility, which brings together all relevant governmental sectors, including education, health, environment, transport, infrastructure, justice, finance, and safety. We also have a network of focal points that consists of public entities that are responsible for implementing the measures, as well as a consultative council that is made up for NGOs that represent civil society. I think our efforts have been recognized internationally, and the Partnership for Active Travel and Health, that is here represented by our speaker Frozo, consider Portugal as a leading example of coordination in active mobility policies in the recent publication of the 24 Active Travel National Cases Study Actions. I would also like to express my sincere thanks to our distinguished speakers and to someone that is not here today, but it was fundamental to settle this session. That is our friends from the World 21 Foundation. So a big thanks to Jim Walker and to Bronwyn Thornton for their efforts to make this session to a reality, and for hosting also the World 21 conference in Lisbon, Portugal in the previous month. So, without further delay, let me introduce our magnificent panel, full of incredible expertise and energy. First of all, Frozo, I'm afraid I'm doing some mispronunciation, some bad pronunciation of the names, but Frozo Christofides is the director of members and network of the European Cyclist Federation, and she's representing also the Partnership for Active Travel and Health. Then we have the only males in the panel, so Mohamed Mezgani, the Secretary General for International Association of Public Transport. Then we have Yo Jung Ha, a Senior Advisor from Sustainable Strategy and International Partnerships at the International Union of Railways. Then Véronique Andrier, Vice Principal of Sustainable and Corporate Social Responsibility at Alstom, so trains, and then Antonia Hock, Director of Sustainable Development and Engagement at Keolis Group. So, we are here today to explore how active mobility, public transport, and good governance can work together to achieve a 50% reduction in transport emissions. I'm confident that the contributions from all our speakers will be crucial in shaping the solutions we need to create a more sustainable and healthier future for everyone. So let's get started. I will ask one question that is the same for all of you. I think you can have more or less 3-4 minutes to answer it. So we'll start by we'll start with Frozo, and then we come here. And the first question is, what are the NDCs, so the National Determined Contributions, commitments that needed in active and public transport that will enable citizens to reduce their transport emissions by 50%? Frozo, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you once again for the invitation and for having ECF and PATH as part of your panel. Shout out also to Jim and Bronwen, who are probably watching us online, so thank you for coordinating. So before I directly answer your question, I would like to take a moment maybe to introduce what PATH is and how it relates to the NDC commitments and our work with the Portuguese government. So as Sofia mentioned, I work for the European Cyclist Federation, and I also represent the Partnership for Active Travel and Health. PATH is a coalition of organizations led by the FIA Foundation that is funding our work, Walk 21, ECF, and the United Nations Environment Programme. And we call on national governments and cities to prioritize walking and cycling as climate solutions in their climate commitments. So when we talk about prioritization of walking and cycling, we seek to unlock the potential that brings in terms of the decarbonization of transport. And I would like to share two key statistics that we view as the massive potential that is walking and cycling. So PATH's inaugural report in 2022 called Make Way for Walking and Cycling found that 60% of trips taken around the world are less than 5 kilometers. And more than half of them are done by motorized transport. So these are distances that are eminently walkable and cyclable, and that's what we're trying to promote. And in addition, we saw in the IPCC's fifth assessment report that enabling walking, cycling, and public transport can actually reduce transport emissions by as much as 50%. So with this in mind, we developed a template, also building our own analysis of the NDCs and the national and walking and cycling policies that found that despite 2/3 of countries having some sort of active mobility policy in place, only 8 countries actually translate that national commitment into their NDCs. So what we're trying to achieve with the template is to support governments in elevating the ambitions that they potentially have on the national level into their climate commitments to the UNFCCC. So this travel template outlines one vision, 5 goals, objectives and measures, and 20 actions to facilitate walking and cycling. And those are divided into infrastructure actions, for example, to make walking and cycling safe, accessible and easy, land use planning to ensure proximity and quality access to everyday services on foot and by bike, integration with public transport to underpin sustainable mobility for longer trips, capacity building, and campaigns to support a shift in mobility habits. So ultimately, we believe that committing to walking and cycling in NDCs essentially means to committing to active mobility as fully fledged modes of transport that deserve the same amount of policy support and financial support as other transport modes. I will stop there, and I would like to talk about Portugal in the next question.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Regarding the question, first I would like to say, and we have heard this morning, that we need to reduce the CO2 emissions by 41% by 2030. And it's good that you mentioned that if we want to achieve that, we need to reduce by 50% in the transport sector. So the transport sector has to make an effort which is above the average of all sectors. And we can only do that if we double the market share of public transport. Of course, cycling and walking, this is a priority before everything. And then we need to divide we need to double the market share of public transport by 2030, and it means that we need more investments in public transport. We need more frequent public transport. We need to make sure the supply of public transport is there, and the public transport with the expected quality and the expected priority. Because if we double the market share, if we invest more in public transport, but it's not with the expected quality, if it's not having the priority on the road, we will not attract more people. So it's important to have a priority for public transport. I like very much what the Azerbaijani minister this morning said. He said, our objective is to have 90% of the population have access to public transport. So it's a clear objective, and we need this kind of quantified targets if we want to reduce the impact of CO2 emissions coming from transport. And then what's important is to have a modal shift. So it means that attracting people from cars to public transport. So if we want to do that, in addition of developing public transport, we need also to make the use of cars less favorable. Means it's a carrot and stick approach. So we need to restrict the use of cars, restrict parking in some places, because if we don't have parking place at destination, we are not going to use the car. So and make sure that cars are used in a rational manner. And what's important also is to have a clear ambition for the in our mobility scheme on the market share we want to achieve. We said we want to double, but for some cities maybe that will be more than doubling because they don't have public transport, and in other cities we know that they cannot double because the network is already very well developed. So what we need to define in this case is what the level of market share in the whole mobility scheme. And we have cities which are clear, they want 40% public transport compared to the other modes, for example, 50%, 60%. So it's important to have this market share defined, and that the policy is deployed to reach this objective. And also one important aspect is really to coordinate between the different policies, because there are policies at national level, at regional level, at local level, and we know that public transport is a local service, but often it is decided at national level. And so how to make sure that there is a coordination between the city level or the metropolitan area and the national level in a way that the projects are concretized and are implemented. Thank you.
Hello. Bom dia a todos e a todas. Queria gastar português aqui. Hello, good morning. My name is Ju. I work at the International Union of Railways, and I wanted to present a little bit about the opportunities for the rail sector and NDCs. Obviously, as some of you may know, rail is a very low carbon mode of transport. Currently, it transports 7% of the passengers in the world and 8% of freight at 1.2% of emissions. So if we want to reduce emissions from the transport sector, there is a big opportunity through modal shift, as Mohammed was saying, to rail transportation. And in the spirit, we've done an analysis in the last year on how rail has been portrayed in NDCs, and we did see that only about 25% of countries have a mention to rail in their nationally determined contributions, and even less, only about 10% have specific targets. So in this understanding that there is a need to further the ambition for rail in this climate plans, we've worked to develop the rail NDC template that really looks into some guidelines and guidance to countries that want to enhance that ambition in the next generation of the NDCs that will be due next year. And so I'm not going to go too much into details, but basically our template has recommendations in 6 different areas. One around the objectives, of ambition, and it does also have an action matrix that looks into the different opportunities within rail on how to how we can reduce emissions. So the opportunities around electrification of the network and using different sources of energy as well. Network development, we know that Portugal has just launched, started on phase 1 of the high-speed line that will eventually connect Lisbon and Porto, 2 beautiful cities in Portugal. So we're very happy about that. And that's the sort of ambition that we want to see, of course, mentioned in the NDCs. And then finally, actions around modal shift as well. Other recommendations are around collaboration, evaluation, and then financing, which is very important to show that they're not only plans, but there are ways, these countries are thinking about actual ways to implement that ambition. So I'll stop at that and then let my fellow panelists continue.
Thank you. Thank you. So I believe that it's clear that we need to reduce the use of cars in the city and in the travel in the city. With public transport and active travel, so cycling and walking, we have a model that is of transport that is already proven. And this is clearly to be used when looking at the revision of the NDC. So the country shall recognize that we have already a solution, obviously that still need to be optimized, to be improved, but definitely, again, public transport plus active mobility is the solution to decarbonize at least urban mobility. So second point that I would like to highlight is that we have already a couple of good practices, and these good practices shall be used to prepare this revision. So, for instance, the Metro Sydney was built in the same times we built a factory with solar panel to provide renewable energy to the metro, and integrating walking and cycling mode of transport, very important. One other example is regarding the transport of goods. So with this experimentation, we had recently in Strasbourg city, so with La Poste, so the parcel delivery operator and authorities there, where we experimented the delivery of parcel with tram and cargo bike. So very inspiring, I think, example. Then, when revising the NDC, we believe that it's important to have ambitious targets, ambitious, clear and specific. So time bounding, 2030, 2035, 2040. With a target that shall address the modal share. Obviously, we believe 40 to 80% of modal share for active and public transport is a must, obviously depending on the shape and the dimension of the city. And I would like also to add that the NDC should also look at the possibility to modernize and upgrade the existing transport infrastructure, just having in mind, for instance, that automation could allow an increase of the transport capacity up to 50%. So it's not only about creating new lines, metro, tram, and monorail. It's also about modernizing and optimizing what is existing.
So I'm Tonia, and I'm from Keolis. So we're a doer. We're running public transport in 13 countries and a 7 billion turnover. And what is really cool with this discussion is that actually within this field, the solutions exist. So I mean, there are other areas where we could really struggle to find a good technical solution. In our sector, we know what to do, and also what we can see, the chance that I have to see also operating in many countries, is that if we took all these solutions together, making like a dream country, it would be really fantastic, because there are so many good practices out there. The way we should look at the NDCs, I would actually highlight the work that's done by organizations that have developed a template as well for countries to work on how to incorporate public transport within the NDCs with the vision, target, action, and measures. And what I can also actually, if I go back to the avoid, shift, improve framework, I would say that as an operator, I would take them in the other way, because actually when we're talking about improving, again, the kind of good news when we're talking about reducing the emissions by 50% or 40%, depending on the way you see it, is that given the high part that we have of fossil energy within the public transport, we could actually do that. It's clearly a feasible goal. When we had our last tenders won, we could actually do better than that. We just renewed a contract of Lille and will reduce the emissions by 60% in 60 years. In 6 years, not in 6 years, 60% in 6 years. So, because actually, as I said, the solution, we know them exist. If we go to the shift part, I also say that that is in the core competences of a public transport operator, is how do we make public transport attractive? We also almost said, like, how could you make it sexy to take public transport? And it might sound basic, but we really have to work on understanding mobility patterns. And here, with the increased amount of data, I think there are really new possibilities to be sharper on that one, and ability to be more dynamic in the offer, which is clearly not something easy for public transport. And we have some good examples also. It's not always about new infrastructures. We're running an on-demand service in Australia, for example, and we see that 40% of those that are taking it, it's instead of taking a private car, and that it's in a very domestic area. So, but it wouldn't mean that I think most of people have one car, but it makes it possible to not have two. So, which is still a reality in many areas. So we have solutions on that one as well. I really like what you said, as Mohammed, that sometimes could be making other parts less attractive. So with restrictions or tolls that we do know that could be a very efficient one. And what is good both for the improve part and the shift part, we could put very clear KPIs on this one. We could measure that. The avoid one, maybe something we need to think about a little bit differently. I really like the example from Alstom with the freight, because then maybe we tend to be a little bit too much freight and passenger transport, when maybe we should think more about the urban area, how we could optimize that, which is surely not that easy, because we tend to have a more public model on the public transport and a more private model on the freight. So it's sometimes merging different actors or different models. The other area that one we should surely cooperate more with, and the name of the day here at COP is good, because urbanization is really key if we want to work on how to avoid emissions. We heard expression like the 15-minute city. I mean, the idea about having shorter trips, because then we have more active travel, that clearly goes with the way that the cities are designed. And I don't. How could we maybe work, have a more stronger measures on that? In many countries, you have this kind of energy efficiency index for housing. Maybe we should have like transport efficiency index. When you buy an apartment, you say like, this is A apartment, this is a B apartment, this is F because there's nothing. Maybe we should reinvent something here to get some, get a better grasp on this avoider part.
Thank you. All your interventions were amazing, and I'm really proud of you because we are on time. So you are good managers of time. So let's pass on to our second question. So we will use the same methodology. We start with Frozo. The question is the same for all of you. So the question is, what is the best governance model for delivering on the commitments? Frozo, you can start. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to mention that obviously there's no one size fits all, but we do try to make a unilateral recommendation in our active travel NDC template. And as I mentioned, we have 20 actions, and those can be subdivided into people, places, and processes. So enabling people to walk and cycle, making safe, easy, and enjoyable and affordable places to walk and cycle, and to embed walking and cycling into the policy process. So under the processes category of actions, we have one specific action called leading the coordination. That's action 15, and leading the coordination actually entails establishing a national active travel task force, engaging all the relevant ministries, not only transport and environment, but also education, tourism, health, finance, and any other institution with competencies relating to walking and cycling, as well as non-governmental stakeholders, to steer the development, implementation, and monitoring of national policy actions. And I think it's to no one's surprise, given Sophia's introduction to what's happening in Portugal, that actually a case study for this action is Portugal. So just last week, PATH launched 20 case studies to go with our 20 actions in our NDC template as best practices that governments can hopefully learn from, be inspired by, and use when trying to implement the NDC template. And Portugal features as the case study for this action, precisely because of the comprehensive structure that is in place. So you already mentioned at the political level, you have the Interministerial Commission for Active Mobility. You have at the departmental level the network of focal points for active mobility, together with the project group for active mobility. At the local level, you have the collaborative network for active mobility. And on top of that, you also have an advisory council for active mobility that feeds back to the national level. And all of these groups feedback loop to each other, and it's a very nice synergy of all levels: governance, actors, public actors, private actors, civil society. And that really shows what happens when you take walking and cycling seriously as a mode of transport. So very happy to have Portugal as one of our case studies, and I'm very happy to take any questions afterwards.
Thank you. Governance is key, actually, and there is a former mayor of Bogota, it was Enrique Peñalosa. He said public transport is not a technical issue; it's a governance and political issue, because technically we have the solutions, we know how to do it, but we don't dare enough to do it. And so this is, we need to increase the awareness of the political decision makers about the impact of all these initiatives, of all these projects, their impact in terms of CO2 reduction, but not just in terms of CO2 reduction, because when we have more public transport, we will improve also road safety, we will improve health. You know that people who use public transport, they are less exposed to cardiovascular diseases and obesity, for example. So there is an impact on tourism in the city. There is an impact on the economy. When you invest $1 in public transport, you generate $4 in the local economy. So these are important indicators that will make the political decision easier to take, I would say. But if we want to implement the approach in public transport, we need a public transport authority. A public transport authority which is not covering just the main city, but covering the whole metropolitan area. This is very important. It's important to have an authority that will coordinate, that will organize public transport, that will contract the services if the services are contracted, that will make sure to define the quality we want out of public transport. And better if this authority is integrated, means that it covers different modes. It covers also car traffic and taxi services, etc., etc. And we have examples. I mean, we have Singapore, London, Dakar now, you know, and many other examples of transport authorities. And an approach that we are promoting at UITP is what we call it redefining public transport. Means that public transport is not just about mass transit. It's also about on-demand and shared mobility. And in UITP, we consider public transport everything which is not every mobility, which is not the individual use of cars. Means bike sharing, car sharing, Uber-like services, taxis, etc., are part of public transport. And if we offer this panel of services to the users, they may not feel the need to own a car or to use a car. And if we do that, then we will achieve the objective. So this is something we really want to promote because we consider it could be part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Frozo and Mohammed did a great job, and I have very little to compliment, but I'll still try anyways. Just connecting back to the conversation we had to the points that we were making before, I think one of the things that we highlight also in our NDC work is that the importance of collaboration. And not only, I think in the case specifically for rail, I think it's really important to take this conversation outside of just the transport sort of engineering work and then connect it to the different agendas as well, right? So one of the things that we saw as part of our analysis is that a lot of countries will have rail development plans as part of their national transport plans, but they're not included in their NDCs. So it's that lack of vision that, you know, rail is part of the climate solution. So how do we connect the two? But also we want to take that a little much further. We want, you know, this sector to you know, when thinking about this policies for rail, like and connected to the to other types of other ministries as well. So beyond transport, go into energy, go into finance, housing, cities or urban development. When you have one thing that one case that I really like within the NDCs that we saw is the case of Nigeria that highlights the importance of having this vertical integration. So, you know, highlighting the work of cities. And they do mention the Lagos 5-year climate action plan, which envisages action in several areas, including spatial planning for TOD and modal shift to rail within transport. And so, you know, we need to make sure that we have this understanding that, you know, we can only see a modal shift to rail if we have better walking, better cycling, better connection to multimodal solutions through our stations and through our work. So, yeah, I think we really want to see that sort of governance happen more and more.
Yeah, fully agree, obviously. Well, definitely, governance is a topic. Sorry, there is an issue. Okay. No, I was saying that definitely the governance is a topic for the NDC. And this because you can have any ambition, you can define any target, whatever they are ambitious or not. If there is no governance, it will not happen, or it will happen, but very slowly, and not at the same level that we wish to have it. So governance is important for that, and it is also important to have this governance defined in the NDC at the different level. So national level, regional level, city level. This is a sine qua non condition to have something that is working, and so. Very important, and I would like to add a last comment that is about the data. If you want to optimize a system of transport with trains, metro, cycling, walking, you need data. You need to inform also the users. And data is also a topic for governance, and we all know that very well. So don't forget that.
Yeah, indeed. Maybe as adding again the doer perspective, because actually what we see for public transport is that we have a we have a wide variety of contractual models or business models. And if I just look at the different kind of contracts we have some contracts where we operate both public transport and bike sharing services. So then, of course, in that kind of contract, as we would not only think about the buses, we'd also think about active travel because it's a part of our scope. So we do like that. In other ones, we would only have the bus traffic or only metro traffic. Of course, that's fine, but then the contractual model should be designed so that we still have a reason to think about active travel and to keep that global thinking, even if the market is split differently. And given the very different kind of models we see, maybe there's some learning as well to see, because of course it's all this path for cascading that is really important. So of course from national strategies with the ministry, then for regions or for cities, with of course an intelligent thinking about what is region, but then eventually really down to the way we produce the service, and that could go as far as like that a bus driver has an incentive having the bikes on board or whatever, or push the cohabitation of both active bikes and bus. So yeah, we need to think all the way down to the doer perspective.
Thank you. I'm really, really proud of all of your interventions and keeping up the time. So, of course, I'm really proud about what Frozo said, because that's what I'm doing in Portugal, so leading the national strategy. And I strongly believe that governance is the key for many things, and we need to talk to each other and to provide for common solutions. I must be very honest, it's not a very easy task. I know, because I manage those different governance structures, and it's really hard to bring everyone to the same table and talk to each other, because I have some ministers and some entities that are more interested and are more keen on active mobility, and for others, so walking, cycling, what's that? No, public transport, oh, okay. And as I used to say, I think walking is the most important mode of transportation, the most powerful one, because as passengers, as drivers, we need to walk to the vehicle, so we don't fit in the bus or in the tram or in the train by magic. We walk to there. So I usually say that walking is the glue of every transportation mode. So I'm really happy with our conversation. I think we are really aligned, and it's a joy for me to moderate this session. As we have little time, we have 4 minutes, so 1 minute, more or less, one of you. For each one of you, I would like to ask you for a small comment, a small sentence, or just a simple sentence like move people, not car, or you can say just one word like cycling, walking, public transport, trains, whatever. So for the same order, Frozo, the floor is yours. Just one sentence or a final message, whatever you want.
I really have to brainstorm right now because I have a lot of things to say. So one sentence is, commit to walking and cycling as a climate solution, I think is what I would like to emphasize. Please.
Thank you. We don't put ourselves enough in the shoes of people. So we approach things from an administrative point of view, from political point of view, from a technical point of view, but we don't put ourselves enough in the shoes of those who will be traveling, of the citizens. So this is my conclusion. Thank you.
I think for me it would be to let's more and more look into people-centered transport. So really look at the individuals using all these transport systems and benefiting from the transport of goods, and try to design those systems to better fit them.
Well, I would say that we need to collaborate more and more to develop sustainable, affordable, safe, and easy to use solutions. And clearly, the safety is a must, and we have a lot of work to do on that. And I am referring, unfortunately, to a couple of accidents we have with cycling and walkers.
That's good. And not to finish up, I think we are and should continue to be very happy to be in a sector where there are solutions available and that have both environmental but also social benefits, which is also, I would say, a source of happiness.
I think our last word is perfect to finish our panel, and I must confess that when we were designing the walking strategy in Portugal, when we assembled the vision, we decided to put one word in it, that is happy. And it was quite a fight because some of the people didn't want to have happy in the national strategy because no one does it. And I really fight for having happiness in the vision of the national walking strategy. And I'm really happy with that. And I think it's a very good word, a very good sentence for us to finish our session. Thank you so much for being here. It was an honor to have you here at the Portuguese Pavilion. I would like very much to see you in Portugal for those that missed Walk 21 conference. We hope that you visit us, and thank you very much for your collaboration. Thank you.